everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be checking out yet again more of the McFarlane Toys Justice League 2021 Snyder Cut figures, this time in the form of a double review of the Justice League Tactical Batman as well as the dark suited version of Superman. Now I have previously reviewed over on the channel the Cyborg, both masked and unmasked, so for those of you who wish to check out that review, please feel free to do so after you've of course watched this review. These two figures are also figures that I've been really looking forward to, especially that tactical suit Batman, as I think it's one of the best live action bat suits that we've gotten in a very long time. So we'll start off with Batman. You can see here this time I have got the standard version, so none of the unmasked releases unfortunately, nor the ones with the goggles up, as that is my preferred look for the character, but it is very difficult to obtain. But I actually think this particular face sculpt looks fantastic. Now much like the Cyborg, I think this is probably the best mass produced version of tactical Batman that is currently out there on the market, even giving once again some of those import figures a run for their money. This design does look rather like Night Owl, but that's more of an issue with the actual designers than McFarlane themselves. I think the sculpt work looks fantastic, and this is undeniably Ben Affleck. You can see there with the mouth, I think they've done an exceptional job as far as the sculpt is concerned, and the goggles certainly do look fantastic, as so does the paint as well. I think it's awesome how they've managed to give you that reflective tint in a very different type of black compared to the matte colorization that we've got going on here for the head. The cape too has also been sculpted really well. Upon actually looking at this in the package, I did actually think this to be a fabric piece of cloth, but nope, it is just a pliable piece of PVC, but it still does look fantastic. You can see all of the texture detail that we've got going on there. Beautiful looking sculpt work. McFarlane Toys certainly do create some of the best figures in my personal opinion. You can see here for the torso, very heavily armored, much like we saw in the movie. The bat emblem been sculpted so well, as well as painted. You can see here for the shoulders, he looks very heavy infantry, much like we saw in the movie. We have all of these straps, of course, harnessing on, I believe, these blades on the side, which look fantastic. You can see here for the gauntlets, these two also look awesome, and you can see the utility belt, which has been sculpted all the way around. And we also have got some nice paint and sculpt variation underneath the cape. As far as accessories are concerned, we only get included one Batarang. Sculpt work on this looks fantastic. You can see, of course, it's just a bat emblem and has been nearly sculpted out of black plastic, but still looks terrific. And then as we spin our attention down to the lower region of Batman, you can once again see all of the armor fastened here to the thighs, as well as the knee pads and the shin, and the feet do look very heavily armored as well, all sculpted and painted appropriately well. Batman does of course include a collector's card. Now this time around it does show the generic suit, which I do hope we actually do also get a figure of. And if we just spin here to the back, you can see the bio, which of course you can pause and read if you so desire. As far as the articulation is concerned, considering Batman is a very beefy and bulky character, I was very surprised to see that he's actually quite agile. So here for the head, it can look up to quite a good degree. We can also get him looking down. It can tilt left to right as well as rotate the full 360. We also do get butterfly joints, which we get a much greater range of motion out of than I initially suspected. And much like Cyborg, we do have that additional component, which has been placed over the top of the ball peg just so that it looks coherent no matter what way you pose him. We do get ratchet joints out to the sides, or full rotation here at the bicep, double joints here at the elbows, as well as wrist rotation, which can also hinge up and down, and depending on how you actually place the ball joint, you can also get this hinging back and forth. We do get an upper diaphragm joint, although this is slightly restricted due to these abs, so you can't so much crunch it forwards, but you can crunch it back as well as side to side. We also do get a waist ball joint, so you can utilize both of these, as well as of course rotate the figure left to right and tilt this also side to side. Here for the legs, they can kick forwards to quite a good degree, as well as back to about that far. He can of course do the split. We also do get a rotation here at the thigh, double joint at the knee, unlike the Cyborg figure. And then finally here for the foot, this can pivot forwards and backwards, rock side to side, as well as of course we can utilize that toe bend in order to get him into some slightly more dynamic poses. So overall, once again, as far as sculpt, paint, as well as articulation is concerned, I think this guy is pretty awesome, although I would have loved to have once again gotten not only the Batarang but also the grappling hook, as we do see him use that quite a lot, especially in the Snyder Cut. And taking a look here at the black suited version, or the resurrection suit I guess you could call it, for our Henry Cavill Superman, I think this once again too has turned out really well, although I don't think the likeness is as good as what we got with that Ray Fisher Cyborg that we recently took a look at. So just taking him here off the display base, unlike the other figures, Superman does include a transparent display base, which of course has the cradle to give you the impression that he is in fact flying, and this is articulated with a few ratchet joints at the top, as well as a few ratchet joints here for the cradle. And he too also does come with a collector's card, and depending on whether or not you get the more traditional suit or this black suit, you will get a different colorization here for the character card. And once again, you can pause and read that for more info on this particular incarnation of Superman. But taking a look here at the main figure himself, I don't think the likeness is terrible, but it just definitely isn't up to par with some of the other figures in the range personally. I do think that it's probably one of the better mass-produced likenesses that we've gotten, but from certain angles I do not see Henry Cavill in there at all, which is slightly unfortunate, but nevertheless you can see the sculpt work, the definition there to the nose, as well as the cheekbones, and the mouth has turned out really nicely, as so as the paint. You can see no paint blemishes for the eyes or eyebrows, and the hair sculpt is near enough spot on to what we saw in the movie. Really nicely sculpted, as well as really nicely painted, but the suit is definitely where this figure shines. So you can see here the S emblem that we've got there on the torso has been sculpted so nicely, as well as picked out in a slightly more gunmetal silver when in comparison to the darker black that the suit's been casted in, and I love all of the individually sculpted seams. It really does look fantastic, and just like we saw in the movie. And even here for the cape, you can see whilst not as authentic as Batman's, this too has been sculpted really well with all of those creases and wrinkles in order to give you that more realistic look. Unfortunately, we don't get any other accessories with this figure. It would have been awesome to have gotten some laser beam eyes or some interchangeable hands, as we only get one fisted hand and one relaxed hand, so it would have been awesome to have a pair of both of these than having these two asymmetrical on the figure, but it's definitely not too bad by any stretch of the imagination. And you can see going all the way down here for the suit, we've got some really nice musculature detail here for the thigh, which I think's turned out super nicely. And here for the boot, this has in fact been painted in a darker shade of black when in comparison to the more lighter shade of black borderline grey that we get here for the rest of the suit. So definitely a really awesome looking figure. As far as his articulation is concerned, the head can look up to quite a good degree, as you would expect from a character of whom can fly. We also do get butterfly joints here for Superman, and much like Batman and Cyborg, we also do get that additional layer over the top, although this one here appears to be stuck, so I'll just show you on this one. You can see how we can hinge that back and forth, and this secondary component will in fact move in accordance with that. We get ratchet joints out to the sides, which can hinge to quite a considerable degree. Full rotation at the bicep, as well as double joints here at the elbows. Wrists can hinge forwards and backwards, as well as rotate the full 360. We do get a ball joint here at the upper diaphragm, as well as a ball joint here for the waist, although I'll be honest and say the range of motion is not as great as I'd like it to be, especially for a character such as Superman, but it's definitely not too bad. Here for the legs, these can ratchet forwards, although this entire region has been made out of a very hard piece of plastic, so it's not as pliable as Batman's or Cyborg's, meaning that the legs do unfortunately kick out to a slight angle, which I don't personally find to be the best. They can hinge out to the sides, but once again this section does slightly restrict that. We do get a double joint here at the knee, which is pretty decent, and then finally here for the foot, this can pivot forwards and backwards, as well as rock side to side, and we of course do get the toe pivot. So overall, as a complete package for Superman, I think this figure's turned out pretty well. It's by far not my favourite out of the lineup, especially when compared to Batman and Cyborg, and unfortunately I do actually have some paint bleed here on the flesh tone, which has clearly been leaked on the suit, so that is rather unfortunate. And the head sculpt, I'd give roughly a 6 out of 10. I don't think that it's spot on, but it's certainly once again nowhere near as bad as some of those Mattel figures that we got released way back in 2017. And so that was my double review for the Justice League McFarlane Toys Snyder Cut Dark Suit Superman, as well as Tactical Batman. Overall, both of these figures are really well done. Of course, if I had to choose between the two, I would definitely opt to go with Batman. I do think he is the superior out of both releases. Batman's articulation is surprisingly really good considering how bulky and heavily armoured the character is, although I would have liked to have seen a few additional accessories come with him, such as that grappling gun that we see him use throughout the movie, but the sculpt and paintwork for Batman is near enough spot on. I maybe would have liked to have also seen an interchangeable head, but considering they are doing a few different variants, I guess if you really wanted the goggles up, you could of course pick that figure up. As we spin our attention here over to Superman, I think the figure looks pretty decent. The sculpt work on the suit especially is really nice, as so is the paint, but the head sculpt certainly isn't spot on and is nowhere near as good in my opinion as that Ray Fisher Cyborg head sculpt that we took a look at in the previous review. And considering that he merely only comes with a transparent flight stand, I would have loved to have gotten a few interchangeable hands for the figure, or maybe an alternate head which showcased the laser beams, or just an eye laser beam accessory. Overall, both of these are still really nice figures and will no doubt look awesome amongst some of your other Justice League McFarlane Toys figures. Like previously mentioned, I do also have the rest of the wave, so please feel free to let me know down in the comment section below what character or figure you would like me to take a look at in the next review, and also be sure to let me know what you think of the figures and the review down below. I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.